about all of us ever spending money.
We're living large. Living large.
Who's in charge of swag? Like a t-shirt. Why would I call it? Well, it's starting to feel like Christmas here at City Hall. Councilman Henderson has come through 2 years in a row. Council, we're here. It's December 13th for our regularly scheduled workshop meeting. You've got the agenda before you. I'll call for a motion to approve that.
So moved, Mayor.
Motion by Councilman Coates.
Second.
Second by Councilman Martinson. All in favor?
Aye.
The workshop agenda for December 13th is approved. We'll move into our first item of business, which is a financial quarterly report given to the council by Finance Director Brian Brown. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Oh, it just magically appeared. So we'll go ahead and get started on this. I followed the same pattern we kind of have in the past with the graphs and all that. So this first chart just shows a snapshot of all revenues and expenses from July to September for fiscal years 22 to 2024. The things that really stand out when I looked at this is you see the revenue for the general fund, it's down some. The reason why for that is in the prior 2 years, we received ARPA funds, and this year we did not. So we only got them those 2 months. So that's why you see that kind of dip there. The other thing is on the sewer, you see expenses shoot way up. And the reason why that is there's capital projects in that fiscal year 23. And then this year they kind of normalize back out. So that's just kind of a snapshot. We'll go more in detail in future slides. First, we'll start with the general fund. So you can see that taxes are up. In my report, I said that the sales tax growth is not as great as it was last year, but this is the first quarter, so we'll see what happens and we'll continue to monitor that. The license and permits, that's your building, business licenses and business permits.
So sales tax is ahead of last year, but you're saying not as a great a percentage as it was last year.
I wish it was higher, but it's still ahead.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah. And you can see that the building permits, that's the reason why we see a decrease in that second line item. The intergovernmental revenues, that's where the reason why that's down is that's where the ARP funds would be posted to. So you can see how that's the reason for that decline. Charges for service, and this is going to be your community city, your golf course, development fees and all that. So the golf course and community center, they're up again this year. They continue to perform. It was the development and building that was the reason why we see a decline there.
Can I ask a question on the golf course and the community center? Mm-hmm. Are they making money now? Are they breaking even, or?
So there's a coverage on that. They've been hitting that coverage that was kind of the target in the past. They've been hitting that.
So they've been hitting that good.
And that's both, Brian? Both of them?
Yeah, the golf course for sure. I need to double check on the community center. I can on that one. But their revenues are up, so it all ties to their expenses. So I have to go double check that percentages. And I can double check that and email it out to you. And then the fine and forfeitures, that's court. And then you have miscellaneous revenue. Moving on to expenses, the two items, the top two lines, general fund and public safety here. The reason why general fund is down was up last year is because there were some land purchases in there, so we don't have that in this year. And the reason why the public safety is up is there was a fire engine purchase for about $800,000. So that's the difference there. So that's kind of a brief summary of the general fund. So moving on to building permits, you can see this first quarter, we're at 113. They're down, but when I looked at November, when you look at November's, in November, we did 100 permits alone. So right there, you're almost double. So we're down this quarter, but we're going to see somewhat of a rebound next quarter. So, and that 100 permits in November was the third highest. We in March of 21, we did 103 permits, and April of 23 did 103 permits, and then November we did 100 permits. So the building was down this month, but it's rebounded this last quarter. I also included the RAP tax. So you can see this is the breakdown of all that's been collected and distributed, and what was committed for the culture, the committed amount for facilities and arts is right around $1 million, and uncommitted is 1.3.
What's our monthly allotment generally for that, for RAP? Just average or approximate?
I would say 50
It'll
to
probably be that,
60,000.
like that 800,000 divided by 12, really. So you're talking at 600, 700,000 probably a month.
60 to 70.
Or 60 to 70,000
Yeah,
per month.
I think that's where it's right at.
I put the decimal in the wrong place.
This is July through September?
Yeah.
So July, August, so first quarter?
Yeah.
Fiscal year 24? So we're trending pretty well
Yeah.
in that
Everything's
first
trending.
quarter.
Like I said, the really only thing that was down was building, but then all of a sudden we see in November a swing back. And if with that, you may see also sales tax, even though sales tax is down, well, building's up, then sales tax should follow that too because of the spending.
Can I ask a RAP tax question, Jeremy, that I should probably know, but I don't? That's something that has to be renewed by election, right? And when is the next time that comes up?
Next year, 25.
It's next
year,
year
25.
with the county
We're
election.
on year 9.
Okay,
And I expect it to
Thank
follow
you.
the path of the GO bond in St. George this year. I mean, they typically it's a tax that residents like because they can see the benefits directly in their parks and their recreational opportunities. So
right.
typically they're refunded every time.
Okay, thank you.
And the next slide I really like, and it's because interest rates are way up. And most of the interest earned is in the capital project because they have a lot of money tied up to impact fees. So they're the ones earning most of it. But you can see the general fund is pretty even because it doesn't have as much money allocated to it. But the capital projects, that is mainly because of impact fees. But like interest rates, they're way up. But that's hard to predict whether they're going to go up or down or stabilize.
But we can kind of expect as inflation stabilizes that those rates will come down.
Yeah. Right now, they're probably just going to stabilize, but eventually they're going to come down. And then we'll go into the enterprise funds. So the enterprise funds, you can see the revenue for the water, sewer, and power for the last 3 years. And then the expenses. You can see the expenses. Like I said, the sewer, that almost 2 million versus 500,000 this fiscal year was due to capital projects. The increase in water was for meters, and then power. The decrease in power is decrease in power cost. And storm's about the same. So that's kind of where the enterprise funds sit for the revenue expenses. So in conclusion, the city council and management have been responsible in managing the city's finances, ensuring that it is well positioned to withstand the economic downturns. As a result, the city's burden to debt is low and the general fund balance is healthy. So the city, I mean, like I said, we have low debt and our fund balance. I did calculate this for council member codes this time, but it's at 20%. But to me, that's misleading because a huge chunk of your revenue property tax will come in this month and next month. So that's $4.5 million. So it's kind of hard to gauge it when large portion of your revenues coming in the next 2 months.
What does the state allow us to retain in fund balance?
35%.
Okay.
So that's this quarter. We're in the first quarter. Like I said, we'll continue to monitor sales tax and continue to look at stuff, and we'll see how it goes throughout the year. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate all of the work you do to keep us not only building the budget, but keeping us on budget. And you do a great job for the residents and taxpayers here, and you and your staff, we appreciate very much. Hope you have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
And we'll see you at the next meeting too.
Thanks.
Next item of business is the Grapevine Trailhead. We'll turn to City Manager Jeremy Redd to present on this item.
Before that, Mayor, I just want to, I'm going to actually step down from the council because my firm worked on this project, so I'll let the discussion be with the rest of the group.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. This is a fun one. I don't always get to give fun presentations and very seldom get to talk about fun parks and trailhead presentations, but this one's one that's been in the works for a while. I know that the previous councils have planned this trailhead along with others and added it to their capital facilities plans, and even calling it a trailhead, I think, is a little bit underselling it. And so I really wanted to kind of go back through the project again in this work meeting to remind everybody what we're doing and then talk about maybe the future. But this is a conceptual drawing of some of the building space. You can see this is not a typical trailhead that we would have. This has 4 bathrooms in it. It has water. It has covered gathering areas and benches and seating, and really ends up creating quite a nice, almost a little bit like a park. You know, people can go and use it that way, and I think it would be considered sort of a park as you head into the Red Cliffs Desert Reserve to hike those trails and take your equestrian, your bikes. And so it's a really exciting project. I think everybody's kind of aware of the issue that we have up there on that trailhead. Of course, now everything's freezing up on me. We have right now what we really have is not what you'd consider a trailhead. It's a parking area off of Washington Parkway, and it's a fantastic place, but there's no amenities. There's really no parking, and there'll be 30 or 40 cars there on a Saturday trying to use that. And so this is going to be a nice amenity not only for us but for visitors and for other people that live in adjacent communities. So let me walk through this, and then I'd hope to leave a lot of time for discussion if you have any. When we look at this project, I look at it really as 3 major projects. So when you look at the total cost, we look at it that way. We've got the trailhead. If you remember, 143 parking stalls with additional parking on the street as overflow. So we're building quite a road to get into the trailhead as well. And that road can have street parking as overflow, but there are 143 marked parking stalls. In addition to that, there are 10 gravel pull-through stalls on a gravel parking lot for equestrian. So you can pull your horse trailers in, and the horses don't have to get unloaded on asphalt or concrete, and they can go right into the trailhead on a gravel path. And then I would picture this. I termed it as an iconic trail building with 4 individual restrooms. Again, the wash area, the covered gathering area, and the benches. The second project that's up in the same area is the future power substation site that will serve the Salente project, but also any commercial, the areas that we've identified as the hospital area or whatever commercial that turns into. So it really finishes off the north part of our power infrastructure. That substation site will be built with this, which includes the grading, the really nice looking block walls around the substation, the gravel, the trenching, the vaults, and the conduit. So it's all ready to go. As soon as we have need for that substation, we'll pull the conduit, put in the infrastructure for the substation, and we can energize it. And then the third project that's part of this is the Washington Parkway Trail. It's the trail that goes along from this area towards Main Street. And then with phase 1 of Salente, it will finish. So you can go all the way from this trail to Main Street and then down accessing all the other trails in the city. It also will access the I-15 overpass, the sidewalks that allow you to go across I-15 to the south side of the freeway, and the existing community trails. It has 2 pedestrian bridges in the Parkway Trail, so it's quite a nice trail. I just point out that we've done all the land purchasing and acquisition for this project. We had to do a trade with the HCAC and Sitla to move the fences and actually adjust the boundaries of the habitat area. So we gave them some and they gave us some, and we moved those fences. And the second thing, we negotiated a perpetual easement with Sitla, and that's been secured and purchased. So we have perpetual use of that site as a trailhead. We purchased the site that the substation will sit on, and then we bought perpetual easement for all the rest, so that we can own and operate a trailhead in that area, which helped save us some money there. Any questions so far on the 3 projects that are included in this trailhead? So let's talk about the exciting stuff, and probably the reason I'm pitching this and not Paul or Barry or Cole. Let's talk about the budgets. With our current budget, we budgeted for the Grapevine Trailhead $2.4 million. We budgeted $1.1 million for the power substation infrastructure and $1 million for the Parkway Trail. So sometimes those are the placeholders or the estimated amounts that we put in. So our current budget with all 3 of those projects is $4.5 million. We have bid this project now twice. The first time we bid the project was more the trailhead alone. And then we recognized that we could help save some money by making some adjustments to the overall site layout. But we also recognized that the trail is going to need fill and the substation site needed to be cut down. And so if we put those together as one project, we can take the fill from the substation site that we take out and use it to create the trail. So we can save some money if we do those together. So the second time it was bid out with the entire project, the low bid came out at $5.45 million. That's contractor, engineering, construction management, and a pretty good 5% contingency, which we like in there so that we can handle any little unforeseen issues that come up without having to come back and ask for more money. Then, and I'll get to this on the map, but GWC is paying for part of the road that goes in, because as the road comes off of Washington Parkway, it tees off and then it will go turn right and head to our trailhead and go straight into their project. So they're paying $200,000 for their contribution portion of that small road before it gets to their project. So that leaves our total project cost at $5.25 million. And the way we'll do this is as a pass-through reimbursement to GWC. So they will pay for the trailhead and all the items that I've identified here, and then we will reimburse them with park impact fees and power impact fees. And then the third portion of that is the grant funding that our Parks Department and Paul Walker were able to secure for the trail. When we did the budget last year, we didn't know that was coming, and so it wasn't included as either a revenue or an expense in our budget. So what we're asking for, and this is part of the budget adjustment that Brian will be presenting at the regular meeting, is we're asking for, we'll take the $4.5 million current approved budget that we have allocated, and we'll add the $750,000 from the state outdoor recreation grant. We'll add that as a revenue source and as an expense that allows us to get to the $5.25 million total for the project. So really what we're doing is we're adding the grant funding that we hadn't anticipated when we built the budget. So that equals the total city project cost of $5.25 million to construct all 3 projects. Any questions? I know that's a little bit confusing, but I tried to lay that out as simply as I could. If I can understand it, then we usually can get there. So again, let me go to maybe this second photo here and point some things out. You can kind of see my cursor here, but as you come off of, this is Buena Vista heading to the south, and as you come up to the north, we have this road right here, this little piece of the road. Then that will tee off and go into the Salente project and continue to head right and head into our our trailhead project here. You can see all of the asphalt parking stalls as we go along, and the restroom facility will be up here in the top right of the diagram. And then you can see as you come down here to the south, this is the area where the equestrian parking will be. And again, there's parking all along there. And then you see our substation site in the middle of the project. So, and then the trail will head off to the west and head towards Main Street. And with the phase 1 of the Salente, that will tie that entire trail in. And then you can see it'll also head towards I-15, and then eventually it ties into the other unimproved trails that we have that go down under the freeway and end up over near the Grapevine Wash area. So eventually now we're starting to see these trails start to connect to each other. Eventually you'll be able to get from the boilers and head north on Main Street and connect right into this trail system. You'll be able to, make that whole loop if you want to. So I know there are a lot of our residents who use those trails and are pretty excited about it. But any questions on the trailhead or the financing or the budget amendment?
Can I ask a question on how the contracts work with the city as far as construction?
Yes.
Like I heard today that concrete is going up $15 a yard starting in January. And so the concrete cost will be more expensive, of course, when they start pouring out up there. But how does that work with the city? Is it more of a cost plus type contract? Do they have contingencies for increases in costs like that, or how does that work?
So when we bid it, and then they have to meet that cost unless there's something identified that they didn't see. So they could make a case or come back and make a request, and that's kind of where that contingency fits in.
Okay.
But typically we try to get those bids close enough to the time that they're going to start construction that you don't have a lot of those changes. Now this one has taken us a little while to identify the funding and make sure that everything was in place. So that could become an issue, but most of this project is asphalt and not as much concrete in this project other than the restroom facilities and things. But yeah, that they could come and ask for adjustments based on
if there's a major unforeseen
and we
increase or
work with the
something.
contractors,
So-
and our engineers work with the contractors to try to minimize those change orders. But
Yeah, it's a
they-
little
they do
weird
have
right now
incentives.
because there's some costs that are going down a little bit, but then, we get something like that out of the blue it's going up. So it's a little bit of an unsettling environment right now as far as that stuff goes.
Does time play into that at all? Like if there were a time for this is what it can under this time, but if it goes beyond this time, then you may have to ask for extra money, or does that have anything to do with this?
Yeah, typically there are construction timelines that they have to meet, and if they don't meet those timelines, then sometimes there are liquidated damages they have to, so it depends on the way that the contract is structured, but it depends on the contract.
Do you have an estimated cost of what this will cost to maintain every year?
I don't. Do you have any thought, Paul or Barry? I mean, essentially, a lot of the maintenance costs are going to go up, and it's going to be like a small park where you have a bathroom that you have to maintain, you have trash that you have to go and take care of each day. So it'll be similar cost to that. You don't have any mowing, you don't have a lot of that, but you have to take care of the plantings and the trash and police it.
A little bit of power and water.
A little bit of power and water. Yeah.
It's pretty exciting. I mean, this is going to be a big deal. So
I think it is. I think it's
is a big deal.
And I think it's evidenced by the fact that the state pitched in $750,000. They recognize this is right off of I-15. It's again an entrance to our community that a lot of people will be able to recognize and use, and it's right up there in the reserve that a lot of people, a lot of our residents and a lot of our visitors use. So
it'll be great.
I would dare say this will be as nice a trailhead as there is anywhere in the state. I don't know of one that's nicer, but good facility.
Well, for my perspective is that we've done a lot of work on this. You know, it came out for years, we've been working on it. I remember when it first came out and we first heard about Salente, we thought that, well, we need to make some contingencies for growth. And these trailheads, the Grapevine, Elephant Arch, and and the actual dinosaur tracks that are up in that area, we have to make sure that they maintain openness to our visitors and residents so they can access them, even though there's going to be a development bill here. And so as we looked at this, we tried to build in some things for growth. We considered pull-throughs for folks that might have an ATV on back or want to take their horses through. And so we added that part of it, and I really liked the fact that we did that in a way that really didn't cost a whole lot, leaving it gravel or better to put walk courses on. But I guess for me, I just want to express my appreciation for all the parties involved. You know, for our conversations that were listened to and our concerns were addressed, and the engineering firm that did it did a top-notch job, and I've been a part of that every step of the way. And you know, it looks to me like it will serve all of our needs. The walking trail or the bike path will be a great asset. And I don't know if you've been up there, but any time of the day, any time of the month, any time of the year, there's cars, a lot of cars there parked alongside the road. And so we know this is going to be busy and it's going to be well used. And that's the real benefit of it, is providing these opportunities for our visitors and residents to access the outdoors and utilize what we have here in Southern Utah.
It's a good place to get a little red sand in your shoes, between your toes.
Do you know when this will start? The work will start on this?
They're ready to get started. I just had to have your approval before we start signing agreements, but I have this problem where I really want you guys to approve the money before we go out and sign the agreements.
It's probably a good idea.
It always works better that way. So we'll have this on the agenda, on the regular meeting agenda, for that budget adjustment for that 750,000 difference. It's a debit and
included
credit
in
on
the
both
budget
sides.
adjustment. Yeah, that's what that is. That's the major piece of that budget adjustment today.
Mayor, can I just ask one more question?
Go ahead.
On the shade structure, is there going to be places to recharge my electric bicycle in case I use all my electricity to get up there from the fields?
Craig Coates, representing the applicant. I appreciate you making me come up on this great night, but
It's my pleasure.
there's going to be electrical somewhere up there. So, but I would suggest you get rid of that bike and get a different type of bike. But that's just my opinion.
Well, they
So,
won't let me take this kind in there, so. Thank you.
it'll be a full-fledged bathroom. It'll be very nice. The shade structure is it'll be big for shade, and it'll be, like Jeremy said, an iconic structure that we'll have for generations. And I think it'll be a place marker for the city.
Very nice.
And while you're up there, so the trail then will just parallel Washington Parkway on the north side over to Main, is that right?
Yeah. So currently, right now, it'll connect to the paved parking lot and then head west. It'll run all the way along the Washington Parkway. This one only shows the trailhead, but when we combine the bids, we push the trail all the way to Main Street.
Good.
So and then I'm going to say almost to Main Street, and then the other portion's being constructed right now with the Salente development.
Good.
But it's on.
And that entrance off of Main right there, okay.
And if you drive up there right now, you can see it's kind of graded in already. The trail's kind of graded in right now. So I was up there before the meeting. So. Okay.
Well, and I love the design where we're able to have that dual purpose with the substation and the recreation component. And I do think this becomes a defining amenity for our city, and one that most will see right off of exit 13 when they roll into town, and it'll continue to activate that area that we have high hopes for.
You know, and this has been, like Councilman Ivy said, is that it's been a great partnership between all the parties. It's amazing how many people you have to work with when you're dealing with the reserve, you're dealing with the cities, you're dealing with the developer, dealing with the power department, parks department. It was a good process to come together and make a good solution for everyone. I hope I didn't leave anyone out. Oh, Manager Red too, so.
Do you anticipate some maps and things there to kind of showing the network of trails?
Definitely. Can you go back to the other picture? So yeah, there's going to be the goal up there is to have like one of those kind of walls right there on the backside. We'll have some maps of the trailhead, so people understand, you know.
Good.
If you can see the drinking fountain in the middle, Can you kind of point to that? So there's the restrooms themselves have washing stations, but then there's like a washing station outside to kind of like, you know, you bring your dog and you're like, I got to wash his feet off before we get in the car. And you don't have to drag him into the restroom, and more of like a cleaning place. There's also tie-offs for horses so they can get water for their horses and do those types of
On those
things.
drinking fountains, you do the ones so you can fill your water bottles too. A lot of people hiking up there.
Yes.
And
Yeah, for sure.
that'd be nice.
So since you're up there, any idea of the timeline working with the contractor? What do we expect for timeline?
If the council sees privy to move forward with the budget, then it's as soon as we can get them lined out. You know, it's been a little bit of time since we coordinated with the contractor, and we told them when it was on the agenda, and so it's just a matter of as soon as we can wrap it. I would say it's in the next couple months.
So this summer, we can expect to be out there cutting a ribbon and
Not this summer. It's
Next.
it's a few months process. So I think the ultimate goal would be this fall. We could hopefully have something in the fall.
sounds nice.
Okay. Thank
Awesome. Thank you. Further discussion on this item? Okay, we'll move along. Next item on the agenda is a review of ordinance 2022-55, Title IX zoning regulations. Once again, City Manager Jeremy Redd.
Thank you, Mayor. This is really a requested discussion. I just wanted to set up the discussion, talking about maybe the process that we currently have and when we adjusted it. If we remember back, it was September of 2022 that we talked about and adjusted our land use process for public hearings. So we used to have two public hearings, one at the Planning Commission level. So if you remember, we would send out, advertise and send letters 14 days prior to the Planning Commission meeting. And then we would hold a public hearing, and the Planning Commission would give their recommendation. And then we would also hold a second public hearing. So we'd send out letters again 14 days prior to a city council meeting, hold a second public hearing at council meeting, and then make decisions. So in September of 2022, we changed that process. And the goal of changing that process was to try to eliminate some of the time that it takes in the noticing and in the extra meetings, and try to streamline that a little bit. So what we did is we still advertise and send letters 14 days prior to the Planning Commission public hearing, and that's based on your code that we have to send so many letters and we have to pick up, you know, people within so many feet, and then we add additional people if we don't have enough in that radius. Then the Planning Commission conducts a thorough public hearing, makes a recommendation to the City Council. And then the current process is the City Council reviews the public hearing video from the Planning Commission. And I think that's been fairly successful. I think this council's been very conscientious to do that and make sure they know what happened with the public at the Planning Commission. We also receive online comments, and then we receive our share of emails, and I know the council reads those as well. Depending on the item, we can get nothing in any of these, or we can get, you know, quite a few people attending the public hearing, quite a few online comments, and quite a few emails. So I think we do a good job of hearing from the public that way. Then, and this is the part maybe that wasn't as clear, but is certainly part of the process. The mayor allows the applicant and or a few members of the public to give pertinent comments. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that too. When we recognize there are people from the public who would like to speak to an issue, we allow that. And then the City Council discusses in the public meeting and makes the final decision on, and this is general plan amendments or land use zoning changes. So that's our current process, and I'll just leave it to you, Mayor and Council, to have any discussion you want to have on that process and what you'd like to do.
Well, I really appreciate that, Jeremy, and I appreciate the council bringing this forward, because when this was passed, it was a change from, you know, historical process. And I remember in that discussion, they said, well, let's just review it after a year or so and see how it goes. So this is filling that request to review that. So I'm happy for this discussion to take place. And I think people would like to, any feedback you'd like to make on this.
Just curiosity, what's your game plan? I know what we've been doing, but as far as the public, during the council meetings, because I think that's the big thing we want to make sure is that we are hearing the public comment. So what is your process that you want to take as the mayor to do that? Because one thing I was thinking about during this process is, and I think it's going to come down to helping our staff, is in the planning commission, say you can still go speak to the council, a select, get some people to come speak their concerns from the group.
I think the meeting before last was maybe the best indication of how I intend to handle it. We had I think it was a zone change request on some property up 100, 200 north here. And we recognized that there was some public that had some interest in that, and offered for them to come up and speak, and just kind of gently reminded that the council has either attended, or I know that a lot of you actually attend, and then all of you watch those public hearings, but I'll continue, I think, within that manner to allow for additional comment, to make sure that, because I think the point that's come back to me is, and I agree with this, I 100% agree, is that people want to be heard, and sometimes they want to make sure that it's heard by their elected officials, even though the planning commission is an extension and a recommending body to this council. And I think we respect that. And so I am totally in agreement with allowing for public comment to be given, recognizing that the official public hearing would still take place at the planning commission. But I think that allows for, in some cases, if there's a group, is there one or two that would like to speak to this item? Is there something else that wasn't, said on that record? And that's kind of how I would, I would conduct the meeting, so that the residents can speak to us as an elected body. What are your thoughts? How are you thinking about it?
So my thoughts are, I love the way that this has streamlined the process, because for some developers, for some things, it can save 6 weeks possibly off of the time, and that's much needed. And so I really like this. I think maybe the main place where we could improve is just communicate to the people that, hey, the official public hearings at the planning commission, but we would like to have your comments at city council if you'd like to, so that we just make that clear and we communicate to people that, hey, you have a voice at city council, even though the official public hearing was at planning commission, that we welcome your comments, at city council meetings. So.
And I think when, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I really like this process, because I feel like it's easier for people to follow too, where we see something in planning commission, and then the very next week we're able to discuss it in city council. And I feel like it's very helpful for me to watch the planning commission meeting and see where multiple perspectives on an issue, so it helps me actually prepare for our city council meeting. And then I know some residents like to call, some like to email, some are not comfortable with speaking, but those that want to speak in front of the council and have their voice heard in front of this body, I feel like it's really important to give them that opportunity to be able to do that. And so I really like this process and how we have it, and just echoing what Council Henderson said, just making it more clear that residents have the opportunity to be able to speak in front of the city council as well. And so another, I guess I have a question. When we send out that letter, is there any way to say that you can also have the opportunity to speak in front of the city council, or would that not be appropriate in that letter that we send out 14 days prior to the planning commission meeting?
I think the letter could say that. We try to keep those letters to very formalistic notices under state statute, but we could add that. My only concern is if, let's say, mayor or council decide not to allow it for some reason, let's just go to the extreme because public ruckus or whatever, right? They'd be waving a letter at you that said you already told them they could, right? And so if we say too much in a letter, it might be used to say, well, you're overriding your letter, even though we're overriding it for other good reasons, right? It could say that. It certainly could.
So the only, and that's what I was going to mention, so I appreciate you bringing that up. I just want to make sure that, I mean, we've heard, I think I've heard from a lot of public that want the opportunity. And so I think it's important that we give them that opportunity, even if they show us a letter, because the whole reason behind the changing it was to make sure that we streamline the process. And again, I think it's great that it goes from Planning Commission last week to us. Like you said, it's fresh on your mind. You just heard the Planning Commission, you can go. So I think it's important that but it's important to still hear the public either way. It's just, there's no reason to hear the same. Well, I think we should hear them either way. So whatever makes them, both things happen, I guess.
We need to also consider the temperature of our legislature and what they are trying to create by this type of legislation is that they not only want to streamline processes, but they want to reduce costs. And they want time, and they want to get product on the ground. And so I think that what you're going to see is that the state's probably going to get more involved with this as time goes on. And to me, what I've always really appreciated is Mayor Staley's discernment on allowing people to speak. But I would like to emphasize to our public as well that we live in a technological age. You know, we have text messaging, we have email, and sometimes that one-on-one conversation when residents or citizens are looking for a direct answer, it's easy just to get that, and then it kind of foregoes some of the concerns about maybe they didn't understand the process or exactly what was going on. So what I like about it is that it does kind of keep us in line with where I think the direction the state's going. I think it does make us more streamlined and time efficient and probably creating less cost to builders, developers. But then the bottom line is that the mayor's always been really good to allow people to speak, and that's why I can support this.
I think it might even be helpful. I'm thinking to the letter, and if you send the letter out and you tell people that they can speak at city council meeting, will they avoid that planning commission meeting, which is really where we want them to speak? But
That's what
But maybe at the planning commission meeting, the chair of that commission can say, look, we're going to make this recommendation to the city council, but please know that the city council can also accept your comments by email. He can kind of go through the different ways, and it'll be at a council meeting, and you can come and give your comments. And so maybe that's the appropriate place. We encourage him to come to the planning commission, but he also lets them know that there's a secondary option after that.
Well, and what I can tell you is that I actually spent some time with Ms. Chair Hansen, Commissioner Hansen, and we had that very conversation a few weeks ago, and he's happy to do that. The other thing that I would point out, because this is a review of how is the process going, I have had 0 complaints on someone saying they have not felt heard on a zone change or on a general plan amendment. So I've heard no complaints on specific. We've in general, there's been some discussion about public comment, but nothing where anybody that's come back to me where they felt like they haven't been able to speak to their elected officials on a zone change or on a general plan amendment. So, but I absolutely support 100%, looking for those opportunities for people to add additional comment, to make sure that they feel heard, as a matter of practice. And frankly, often we don't have a lot of people here for those particular items, so that when we did a month or so ago, it was nice to be able to try that out and invite them up. So
yeah, and I appreciate that, Mayor. And I think the complaint that I heard was there's just not an option to. They felt like there wasn't an option.
yeah,
And even though that wasn't ever our intention, they felt, and sometimes being felt is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I understood that, and so I'm definitely good with moving forward. And again,
yeah.
always be looked at, right? Things always change if we feel like it's not working. So just remember that, and let's move forward and baby steps. Okay.
No, I think it's good. I actually really like this process. I fortunately can't take credit for the idea, but I know that when it brought forward, it made sense, and so it seems to be working okay. Councilman Martinson, did you have anything to add to the conversation?
No, it's been a good conversation. Just maybe how do we adjust the agenda so that people know when they're looking at the agenda online that there will be public comment allowed on those specific agenda items? So that if there's just one more, it's not the letter that goes out, but on the agenda item as they're looking, maybe they're not here at Planning Commission, they don't hear that, but they're looking at the agenda for City Council. How can we notify them on the City Council agenda that, hey, come and still be heard?
I almost like that better than on the letter, because I can see kind of the letter might be a contract of sorts, but I wouldn't mind, and I don't know the right verbiage, I'd probably lean on our attorney and the recorder, but I wouldn't mind something that, you know, states that the mayor typically allows for public comment on items if the public has something to say. I think there could be some verbiage that's just added to the agenda that this is as a matter of practice. I generally, typically, unless there's a reason not to, would allow for public comment, and that way it's not confused with the official public hearing that has to be noticed and process needs to be followed.
Yeah, because I'm also thinking of those who don't receive a notice, right? The 300 feet. I'm just, Joe citizen looking at something that's out in the fields. I live in.
And you know what was interesting
State
is years ago, were you on the council with me at the time, Thad? We actually expanded the radius and the number in order to better allow for that public comment. So that's a historical approach that we've taken here. So I think we can find some verbiage. Can you help with that, you think?
Absolutely.
I like that idea better also, because then it's on the agenda and they can see that they have the opportunity to be able to speak. And so I really like that suggestion as well. And also, you mentioned developers and builders. We've had, residents just wanting to do changes with their property, and they would sometimes have to wait 6 weeks. And so I feel like it's good for our residents to streamline and not have, an individual have to wait 4 to 6 weeks before they can start working on on their project or their land or property. So.
It seems to me that this strikes the right balance of process but public involvement, while maybe cutting through some of that red tape that elongates the cycle and costs time and money, as has been mentioned.
It's just, to me, it's efficient. It's an efficient process that if there's something we need to hear, then we definitely want to hear it. But if not, then we need to get the people's work done quickly and as efficiently as we can and get it going. So,
anything else to add? Good discussion. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Jeremy. Last item is adjournment. I'll call for a motion to adjourn until 6 p.m. at the start of our regular meeting.
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilman Coates.
Second
by Councilman Martinson. All in favor?
Aye.
And we stand adjourned until 6 p.m. Welcome everyone to Washington City Hall. We're here in the council chambers for our regularly scheduled city council meeting. It's great to see a full house tonight. Today, I'm Mayor Staley here with the city council. Today is Wednesday, December 13th. Our meetings are also streamed live on our YouTube link that can be found at washingtoncity.org/meetings. I'm looking in the crowd to see if Major Bob Schmig of the Salvation Army is here. Okay, I don't see him. So I will see if Paul Walker would come forward and offer us an invocation to start the meeting.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're gathered here in this public meeting and as members of the community and neighbors. As we gather today, Father, we thank Thee for the blessings that we have this time of year, for the wonderful community we have to live in, and the great neighbors and people we have that surround us. We ask Thee, please be with the council and the people attending this meeting, that it will go smoothly and efficiently, and everyone will be able to share what they have got to say in a peaceful manner. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Paul. I know I put you on the spot there. If you enjoy green grass and beautiful open space and trees and all those things, thank Paul. He's our Assistant Public Works Director, and he plans and oversees the maintenance of all those things. Thank you, Paul. All right, I have asked our Washington City Community Development Director and Hurricane City Councilman-elect Drew Ellerman to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. That's a mouthful. Go ahead, Drew.
Please rise and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, you have the agenda before you. We do not have need to go to closed session tonight. So at this time, I'll call for a motion to approve the agenda as outlined.
Mayor, I can go ahead and make the approval for our agenda for December 13th without need of closed session.
We have a motion by Councilman Ivy.
Second.
Second by Councilman Coates. All in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is approved. We'll move on to announcements. So we are really, we're honored to have the Crimson Cliffs 4A state football championship team here tonight. We're really, I can tell you that we followed your season. We're rooting for you. I was telling Coach Wayne before the meeting that the Crimson Cliffs High School is the first high school in Washington City, and we have something in common. Both our city and our high school are on the rise, and we're winning a lot of games right now, so to speak. And it was a lot of fun. Councilman Coates, Councilman Ivy, and myself. We were up at Rice Eccles at that state championship game cheering you guys on. We're really impressed. So we know that you have a awards banquet tonight, but we wanted just to have the opportunity for you to be here, to be recognized, to be congratulated. And so if I could invite head coach, Coach Wayne, to come forward and just maybe coach, just tell us a little bit about your season, what this means to you. And then before you invite a few players up, can you also maybe just talk to a little bit about the program that you have with some of those heroes within the community? I'm not sure if I'm calling it the right thing, but I saw that the other night. I was super impressed. Coach Wayne.
Right here? Okay. Yeah, first and foremost, I have to say it warms my heart to see us open up a meeting with a prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. brings a lot of joy to my heart and hope. And so thank you for doing that. And it's awesome to see that. Yeah, this group of young men, this program, we first and foremost just want to thank you. We are super honored. You got to understand that we take a lot of pride in our community, and we are grateful to be able to represent Washington City. And knowing that it's the first high school in Washington City, we know that's a big honor. We also know that's a big representation and weight that we carry, and we want to carry it proudly. And we're grateful that you guys are having us here tonight. So thank you for bringing our football team here and our program and these young men here, and to honor them because they put in a lot of work. This is a special group of young men tonight. We have 42 seniors in the program, which speaks volumes to the community and the growth and where we're at. We average about 40 football players each class. So it's a really healthy program. We believe in making sure that these young men understand that it's more than football. At some point in time, whether they're 17, 18, or if they get the chance to go play college or pro, which is very few and far between, but at some point in time, they're going to have to look themselves in the mirror and be able to say, yeah, I know who I am, and I'm more than a football player, and I'm more than an athlete. And that's kind of what our program really thrives to hit home and build our foundation on, as these young men know at some point you're going to realize that you're more than that. And we try to help them understand that before they leave, because we want to make sure when they leave our program that they understand that the impact and influence they can have is way greater than what they have on the football team. Although what they've done in bringing our community together, seeing those stands filled each Friday night is one of the most impressive sights to see. And it just speaks volumes to what the impact these young men have. Lastly, I'll just hit on, we have what we call our Crimson Captain. It's something that we really, the quickest story I can tell you about it is last year when we implemented this, we were only going to do it at home games so that we can honor these Crimson Captains at home games. And after our first couple home games, we didn't do it on the away game. And I probably had about 20 plus young men come up to me like, wait, why don't we have a Crimson Captain this week? And I said, oh, it's just on home games. And after that, that was the last time I didn't do it. We do it every week now, a home or away, because I realized how much it meant to these young men. I realized how much it helps keep them grounded. And they help me realize that as a coach as well, because it helps me each week. So these Crimson Captains mean a lot to us. They help us realize that there's more to life. They help us realize that there's real life going on outside of the game of football. And that at some point in time, like our young man, Scott Nyson over here, at some point in time, you're going to run into challenges in life, just like our Crimson Captains have. And hopefully that the messages that they share will help these young men at some given point in time in their lives, whether it's now during the football games or 15, 20 years down the road. And so, again, thank you guys so much for having us. We're grateful to represent the city of Washington. We're grateful to represent each of you, and we're grateful to live in such an incredible community. So thank you. So quickly, we're just going to have Parker, Andrus, a couple of our team captains, and then Steele Barbin come up and say a couple words, and then also Scott Nyson will come say a couple words, and then we'll go from there.
Thanks, Coach. All right, Parker, I know your mom and dad. Come up here, buddy. Now, hold on a sec. First question for you, Parker. All right. Did I see you playing Little League Baseball back in the day?
Yeah.
And did you go by Moose and you like
I
elk
went by
meat?
Moose. That was me.
Okay, all right. You've grown up
Yeah.
just a little bit.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Hey, tell us what it means to be part of this team, part of this culture. Talk to us just a little bit about the journey and what it felt like to have this major accomplishment.
Awesome. Well, first off, thank you guys for having us out. It means everything. This program seriously changed my life. I would do anything for Coach Wayne. He's the man. I love Coach Wayne. What he's done for us and this program is amazing. Not another coach I've ever had has done what Coach Wayne's done, and just love that man. But thank you guys for having us.
Well, we really appreciate the way that you and the entire team represented your high school, this city, this community on and off the field. We're just really proud of you. What's next for you?
So I'm gonna go play college football. I don't know where yet. I got a couple options, but just breaking it down. And so a couple of my options, let's tell you. Weber State, Southern Utah, and then Utah Tech. I also have Nevada, UNR, but we're still breaking it down.
Yeah, really, really good options. And tell us real quick what position you played.
D-line.
D-line.
Yeah, I'm a nose guard, 3 tech.
Yeah, fantastic. Congratulations,
Great.
Parker.
Hey, thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us. Appreciate it.
All right, Barbin, where are you still? I know your parents too, buddy. Tell us what it means to be part of this program and what this season meant to you, of what it meant to you on and off the field, and just representing this community.
Yeah, it's amazing being a part of this team and this brotherhood we have, and it's just such a blessing to play for Coach Wayne and this team. It's just, we have such a great bond as a team, and it's just been a fun, great year, and it was a fun way to end it too. So
Best moment of the season. What was your best moment?
definitely winning the state championship.
State championship, okay. And then, is there any particular play? Was it the first play of the state championship that sticks out, or what was your
Yeah,
favorite?
it definitely had to be the first play. Yeah.
I mean, is that just like, do you just throw it up to see how fast Wes can run? Is that what you do? Just like, if I throw it this far, can he run under it?
Yeah, pretty much. I try to overthrow him every time, but usually he just catches
This is
it.
a
So.
competition. Yeah,
Mayor, is that number 14? Are you talking?
yeah. What is it? Ty West?
Yeah, Tyler West.
Yeah, is Ty here? Yeah, I know your parents too, buddy.
Yeah,
Come
yeah,
from
we
good
do.
stock. Okay. All right. Don't let that ball beat you. However far he throws, you just run right under it. Well, it was a heck of a season still. Anything you'd like to say to this group and to your community here?
I just want to say thank you to you, Mayor Staley, and the City Council for all your support, and just the city in general. So we just had great support this year and our last season too. So thank you.
Well done. Thanks. All right, while Scott's making his way up here, any other coaches, any assistant coaches or other coaches? How about parents? Any parents here, players? Yeah, parents, raise your hand. Okay. Okay, awesome. All right, Scott. Okay. We saw, it was the third quarter, end of the third quarter.
Beginning of the
third quarter, and I'll tell you, our hearts just sunk, and we were just sitting just close by your parents, and you were on D-line right by Parker, right? Defensive end, maybe.
Yeah.
And the reason you get to be up here is not only you're a heck of a player, right? And it's not just because you got hurt; it's just because your family roots are right here downtown Washington. I mean, the Nyson name is just revered right here, and then just the toughness, and then really, what has this season meant to you, and what do you learn by going through something like this, the bittersweet of a championship and a major injury?
Yeah, it's man, it's a lot of things to think about. It's really cool to get to represent that name, the Nyson name, and just this community of Washington, having it sink in so far and creating adding on to the legacy. I haven't created a legacy. It's been my parents, my grandparents. It's a really cool thing, and like Coach Wayne said, you gotta realize you are more than a football player, whether you have to learn that on your own or if it's forced like mine. You just gotta realize quick. But it's been really cool. It's a privilege to represent the great city of Washington. And
yeah.
So just a quick comment. I watched your dad play ball in high school. He was good friends with my nephew, and I really enjoyed your dad throughout the years. Such a great man, great mom, and all that. But I got to tell you something. We were in the stands watching the game, and after that injury, somebody yelled, and I don't know what player it was, and they said, "We go get this for Scott." Now, as a former coach, that really resonated with me, how they had your back even through your injury, and it was good. It was good. Have you got the rings all sized up and ordered and all that?
Oh yeah, I think we customized them last Monday, and we're gonna go order them tonight, I think. But it was awesome to see how much I don't know, like you hear about our community, and it's a whole nother thing feeling it around you. Because after that injury, I remember like I was in the hospital. I wasn't just feeling bad for myself, not even about the pain, but like just not being there to celebrate. Because I knew we were gonna win. Like I didn't even have to be there for that, but I just wanted to be there to.
I think it was more of a question if Green Canyon was going to score. That was
But yeah, I didn't have my phone for the first while, and then when they got it to me eventually, and I got it, and I just had countless messages, videos of people just just all supporting me, and I just broke down crying in the hospital there. It's overwhelming feeling to just feel it all at once, the whole community around you. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really quite a special thing Coach Wayne and this team and culture has created.
You said it just perfectly. I couldn't add anything to it. Well said. We're so proud of you. So proud of that grit. So proud of the character, the culture that your team represents. Council, anything you'd like to add to this?
Just appreciate the team. It's been a fun couple years watching you play, and I'm excited for the next couple too. I know a lot of you won't be here, but I know we got a good generation coming up. It'll be fun. So thank you guys.
Well, and you're all you all have Washington roots now, okay? So when you go do great things in the world, remember us, back here in our hometown. Let's get a pitch. First, let's give Scott a round of applause. And all the football players, Coach Wayne, let's get a picture right here at the front, and then we'll excuse you guys to go down to your banquet, get those rings, those state champ rings ordered. Chief, what you got? Can I get a sting? Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right. As proud as we are of our Crimson Cliff Mustang state champ football team, that was just the opening act, okay? It is my pleasure to recognize one of the Washington County winners, representatives that from Washington City, who competed and was a runner-up at the state in the First Amendment speech contest. And this young lady, her name is Azurian Lister, and she is going to do us the honor of delivering her speech to the city council. And we've got the mic ready for you, Azurian.
Thank you everyone for being here. I'm excited to share my speech. Paul Revere's story is an example of what happens if you can't petition the government for redress grievances. When people can't ask the government to fix problems, they will either feel very sad or mad. These feelings can make us want to do something big like yell, fight, or write a declaration to make the government listen. Paul Revere and others were mad enough to fight to be listened to. They wanted us to be able to ask the government to fix problems that they others created. I think that it is important to be able to petition the government because I think that all people are important enough to be listened to, but not only to be listened to and have their problems fixed with having to fight with weapons or anger. People shouldn't have to fight when the government won't listen, and the freedom to petition the government for redress of grievances allows that to happen.
All right, that was a fantastic speech, and you can petition this council anytime you want. But before you petition, can we come down and shake your hand and get a picture? You did so good. Okay, we'll come down. Let's slide right here. All the petition was to her, from the mugshot. Good job. So this is their last meeting of the last council meeting of 2023. So we had to have a few things more than we normally would at the start of the meeting. But we are really grateful for the last several weeks, the last 2 or 3 months. We have had a Washington City resident as an intern. She's a student at Southern Utah University, a political science major, my neighbor and family friend, and we're just really excited to be able to ask Brianna Wall to come forward. And we want to thank her. She's finished her about 137 hours of interning for the city, and I happened to be able to be a brief part of her exit interview. And she just shared some thoughts about her experience and what this has meant to her. So I've asked her just to share a few thoughts that are on her mind. And then also she had to write a paper for the class. And she just think she really hit it out of the park with those last 2 paragraphs. So I've asked her to just share those with us as well. Okay, Bree?
Of course, thank you. It's been an honor. So at the start of my internship, I was kind of a novice when it came to municipalities. I didn't really know the level of details and just how much passion and just the level of dedication that there are in municipalities. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity that I've had. So after undergrad, I wasn't really sure what to do. And I think that is a common factor with a lot of people my age. You know, we're just not sure like what the next step is to take. And we're not sure like what our path is in life. And so this internship has really opened up a lot for me and really opened up doors and changed my perspective. So thank you for that. So for those of you who don't know, my mother was a war refugee who escaped her country at a young age and immigrated to the United States. Her story is one of the main reasons why I have such a passion for government, because I study and I know what other countries and governments are like. And I'm truly blessed and privileged to be in a country like this one. So I'm happy to inform you all that I've decided to study and go to law school. So hopefully that will be the goal for 2025. So thank you for your encouragement and for your wisdom on that as well. So for my final assignment.
Wait a minute, did we allow you to spend a little too much time with Thad?
No. No, but
Dad can
that
take
is
that.
actually great.
Dad can take it as a win because I know he tries to get his kids to dress up, as an attorney for Halloween. But hey, he inspired you.
She's
I've
been the first
realized
taker.
Yeah, no, that is an amazing asset. Like I've realized how passionate that is too. So I've seen a lot of things.
I interrupted you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. It's just a joke. But for my final assignment, as with my paper, I'd like to read a part of my paper that I wrote to my professor about Washington City. So, the assignments, meetings, and projects I was given changed my perspective on how incredibly complicated, challenging, and yet rewarding working for a municipality can be. One key concept I learned is that if you want to run a successful government, you need educated, reliable, creative, and passionate people to run said government. The staff at Washington City are some of the most educationally diverse people I've seen who are all dedicated and hardworking. I hope that one day I will emulate their hard work, dedication, passion, knowledge, and resilience. The staff of Washington City have been crafted from silk and steel. They're kind and compassionate, always willing to help each other at no benefit to themselves and put others before themselves. This is the definition of selfless to me. Yet they are firm in following the law and ordinances, making sure to be consistent and thorough, not letting their experience and judgment be trumped by someone else's ego or intimidation. They will not be pushed around. They will be steadfast and enduring while doing everything with beauty and grace, and they will do it with pride. The Washington City staff and elected officials value the individuals they serve and are committed to creating and maintaining a safe and reliable government. A government that is consistent, puts the individuals first, and is continually striving for a better community. A community where people can be what they want, believe what they want, and become what they want. A community that is starts of new hopes and new dreams, and a community that values traditions and embraces the rich history of Washington City. Washington City is a leader in change, not only for the betterment of their community, but as a prime example of positive change for the state, the country, and for humanity itself. The staff are dependable, the elected officials are devoted, the citizens are determined. Washington City is a true inspiration. I will forever be grateful for the opportunity I had to meet such incredible people who are so passionate and dedicated and just have every right to be where they are because they've earned that spot. And I hope to one day emulate that, and I will forever be grateful and cherish this opportunity. Thank you.
That was fantastic. It was even better the second time. And I just hope that there is a little bit of that Lava Rock foundation that accompanies you to law school, and that you keep a little bit of that red sand between your toes, okay? And a little bit of that silk and steel that you observed from the good people that work here. We're gonna do one more picture because you deserve to, and we're gonna miss you. But I'm going to be able to see you because I see your parents all the time. So
Can I say one thing?
Jeremy, yes.
Before we let her go, Bree has been a fantastic intern. She's the first one I've worked with here, and she set a very, very high bar. And just great work. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Okay, a few quick announcements and then we'll get to the meat of the meeting. So in 2024, Washington City will be bringing back public forums. That is an opportunity for the public to speak to the council. Those meetings will occur quarterly on the first meeting of the quarter prior to the work session. So that'll be from 4 until 4:30. So we will add those to the annual meeting schedule that will be presented to the council for approval in January. And so those public forums for 2024 would be January 10th, April 10th, July 10th, and October 9th at 4 p.m. And by January, we'll have a few more details posted on the city website. But I wanted to make sure that the community knows that we are reinstating public forums in Washington City. On Saturday, December 13th, Saturday is not December 13th. What is Saturday? Today's the 13th. That'd be the 16th at 12 noon at the Washington City Cemetery. There will be a Wreaths Across America program. So if you've been there in the past, you know how fitting it is. We have over 400 veterans laid to rest in our cemetery, and it's a local group with the help of the ROTC that actually places a Christmas wreath on every single veteran's headstone within the cemetery. So there'll be a brief program, and I'll tell you, there's nothing better to get you in the Christmas spirit than thinking about our veterans and laying a wreath on their behalf. The city offices will, of course, be closed on December 22nd and the 25th in observance of Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And the oath of office ceremony for our incoming council members will take place on January 2nd at noon here in the council chambers. Council, did I miss any announcements between now and the first of the year?
There's also, aren't we doing the staff meeting directly after that?
That's correct, yes. So we'll have a staff update and introduction on January 2nd, right after the oath of office ceremony. Okay, the next item of business is declarations of abstentions and conflicts. Council, is there any items on which you declare this evening?
Mayor, yes, on item 5A in the budget, there's one line item that I will be abstaining from, which is the trailhead.
Duly noted. Thank you, Councilman. Anything else? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which includes approval of the minutes for city council meetings November 8th, November 29th, and December 6th, 2023. The board audit report for November 2023. Final plats, final plat amendment for Liberty Lane, lots 1 and 2. A final plat for the Skyline at Long Valley Phase 1, and a final plat for Skyline at Long Valley Phase 2. It also includes local consent. I'll read through these. This is to approve the renewal of the off-premise retail beer licenses for Albertsons, First Stop, Gas Stop, Washington, Hart's Gas and Food, Maverick number 390, Maverick number 657, Terrible's 370, Walmart Supercenter, and Whammers. The local consent includes approval to the renewal of on-premises restaurant full-service licenses at Black Bear Diner, Don Pedro's Family Mexican Restaurant, Coral Cafe and Entertainment, Ovation Sienna Hills, Red Robin Gourmet Burgers, Royal Thai Cuisine, St. Helens Restaurant LLC. It includes approval of the renewal of the following on-premise beer recreation amenity license at Coral Canyon Golf Course and Green Spring Golf Course. And finally, it includes the approval of the renewal of the bar establishment license at Coral Cafe and Entertainment. That was another mouthful. Council, is there any item that you would like to have further discussion on, or are you prepared to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mayor, I'm ready to make a motion on the consent agenda as it was outlined and read by.
I have a motion by Councilman Coates.
I'll second that.
Second by Councilman Henderson. All in favor?
Aye.
The consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to a public hearing. Is there anybody here this evening for the public hearing? Okay. Item 5A is a public hearing and consideration to approve a resolution opening and amending the 2023-2024 fiscal year budget. Brian Brown our Finance Director Brian Brown gave us an update in the prior meeting during the workshop session. I'll ask him to come forward at this time to answer any questions before the council discusses and/or votes on this item. Brian, if you'll come forward.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. You know, my dream would be to create the budget, have it adopted, and never make any changes. But I don't think that will ever happen. So for this reason, we do need to have open the budget and amend it for some items like unexpected repairs, consulting, and there were some grants that were approved after the budget. So the current budget is at 139 million. The amended budget will move it to 140 million, so that's about a 1.1 million increase. And there you can see the funds that it affects on this, and I'll go over some details on this. So in the general fund, the top items, there's a Christmas gift that shows the funds, and you can see the dollar amounts. And then in the general fund, we need to do an amendment for some design consulting. There was an unexpected repair for HVAC, and then there was with the remodel, there was some sound panels that we need to do an amendment for. There was a landscaping grant that was awarded after we adopted the budget. And then the community center, there was some UV repairs that we need to do an amendment for. And then there's some baseball scoreboards from the RAP tax. I think that's a carry forward. And then the Dow art for the foundation, which was awarded in the RAP tax. And then also the grant that was discussed in the prior meeting that was awarded after the budget was adopted. So there you can see the breakdown in the amounts, and it comes out to that 1.1 million. Do you have any questions for me regarding this budget amendment?
Council, questions for the Finance Director?
I do have a question, and I don't know, it's probably something that's easily explained, but where we have two items on here, number 9 and 13, that are both listed as grants, why does that tally as a debt or a debit? Aren't grants what we receive? Shouldn't that reduce the amount?
So when we get grants, we have to budget the revenue and the expense.
So this just shows the, okay.
So what we're looking at here is only the expense side.
But if we were to look at if we were looking at a ledger, then it would show a positive offset of these exact amounts.
In the detail, it shows in there, it'll show the revenue and the grant detail. If you go look at it'll show the GL code, and then it shows the revenue side and then the grant. And then if we have to adjust for the fund, because you have to balance, so then we'd have to do fund balance. But like in this case, we're just going to budget the revenue for the 150,000 for the trail, for example, and expense for 750,000.
It's indicated we've received both of those funds, the 27,000 and the 750,000 already.
I don't know if we received them, because sometimes you have to do the grant. You have to do some, it depends on how the grant's written. Sometimes there's an 80%, 20, it's an 80-20 match.
These are going to be both post-performance grants. So we have to spend the money, then we request the reimbursement. The Water Efficient Landscape Program is actually a grant from the Water District that comes from their program to redo the grass. Now, I'm not going to remember the name of the little subdivision, just after just before Red Hills Parkway on the right-hand side of the road, if you're heading towards St. George.
It's Canyon Cove.
Canyon Cove, where the city actually owns that strip where those trees and grass are, and we've requested funds from the district to replace that with water efficient landscaping. So we'll do that, and then we request the funds back after it's post-performance.
Further questions, comments? If not,
Mayor,
Council.
I do have a couple of questions, probably not for Brian, but just general questions, if that's okay.
Sure.
So maybe to Jeremy or Brian, but I'm just wondering, so we have design consulting, Is there a reason why this wasn't included in the fiscal budget back in June, and why it's being brought forward now and not waited for our next budget in 24, in May of 24?
Yes. We underestimated how much commercial design work would happen in the fields is the answer. We've had a lot. We have a lot of projects that have come forward, and we didn't anticipate as much as there has been. So we brought it forward now, so we can pay those. But it's a good and a bad. I think it's a good thing that we have a lot of projects lining up, and they're looking pretty exciting. So
I appreciate that. And then the last thing, Mayor, is I was just wondering about the status on the scoreboards, whether they're going to be up and ready to go for this Little League season, or where we're at with those. They are, and I haven't seen them yet. Okay, tomorrow morning.
Baseball coach getting down in business, wants to see the scoreboard.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Councilman Henderson.
I was just going to say those sound panels were a great investment. It makes a tremendous difference in here. So Jeremy, nice work.
We can just get a clock back up there.
Can you share with the public what the employee Christmas gift is, just so everyone is aware of what that is? Just, like the amount of that goes to all the employees.
I'm happy to do that unless you want to, Brian. But the city council has issued a Christmas gift of $250 to each full-time employee and $50 to each part-time employee for the city.
The reason why I said that is just because, you look at the amount and it seems like a lot, but then it's, when you really think about it individually, it's really not that much. And I feel like tonight we've talked about I love how you explained it. You said silk and still. And I just feel like we have such great employees and we have such a good culture at Washington City. And I'm really appreciative of all the work and just on every department. It's just a really amazing place to be and live and just really appreciative of the work and of all the employees who work here.
We have about 230 full-time employees, about 300 plus, right around 300 part-time, depending.
Yeah, I appreciate those sentiments. I'm glad we can do this. Like I said, not every year we can, but I'm glad we could this year, and I hope we can do it every year. But we always make sure. I think that's why it wasn't in the budget originally. Is you never know what's going to happen around Christmas time, and we want to make sure we can help out where we can. So I'm glad our employees were able to get it this year.
And I was happy with the process on the council, that we could have the discussion in regards to how much each full-time would get, because we realize that the percentage, if you're making more, then should you get the same or less than your Christmas bonus. So we just wanted to make it fair and even and show everyone our great appreciation, because it's a good time of year to look at our success and to appreciate, because without our employees and our people, it makes all this work. We wouldn't be the city that we are. So me too, much appreciation to our staff, to the administrators, to everyone that makes the city work. So anyway, thank you.
Unless there's further discussion, I'll call for a motion to approve the budget amendment as presented by the finance director.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the budget as presented by the finance director, Brown.
We have a motion by Councilman Henderson.
I'll second that.
Second by Councilman Martinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No, Mayor, I just want to also say that I am the one line item I was not voting on, but all the other things I am voting on. So
Duly noted.
thank you, Mayor.
And by the way, you did excellent work on the trailhead. We're looking forward to that too. So we will take your talents here and there, Councilman Coates. Next item is a preliminary plat. This is consideration to approve a preliminary plat amendment for Burke Springs Phase 3, located at approximately Crimson Creek Court and Rimview Drive. The applicant is Short-Term Investments, LLC. Our city planner, Eldon Gibb, will present to the council on this particular item.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The applicant is proposing to add 2 additional lots from the adjacent property and adjust boundary lines to better configure the shape of lots 317, 318, and 319. Also, the southeast boundary adjacent to lots 323 and 324 are being realigned to follow the existing retaining wall. This amendment will increase the total lot count from 26 to 28 with an area coverage increase from 7.64 acres to 8.07 acres. The previous preliminary plat was approved on September 28th, 2022. The zoning designation at this location is single-family residential, 8,000 square foot minimum building lots. The surrounding zoning is PCD to the north and west and R18 to the east and south. The proposed subdivision conforms to the approved zoning. The request meets the subdivision requirements and other city ordinances as it relates to this location. Staff has reviewed the request and recommends approval with condition of the preliminary plat as outlined. The Planning Commission reviewed this request on December 6th, 2023, and unanimously recommended approval of the preliminary plat for Burke Springs Phase 3 subdivision. And that was based on the following findings and subject to the conditions as seen in the staff report. And I'm happy to answer any clarifying questions at this time.
Council, any questions for the city planner?
So Eldon, are these additional lots, are they being carved out of the Crabtree Family Trust?
They are.
So they're just being created. Are they going to fall into the, it looks like by the numbering, they're going to fall into the existing subdivision there though?
They will, yes, Burke Springs Phase 3.
And then the other lot line adjustment is just looks like a boundary adjustment to fall in line with the fence or the line on that.
Yeah.
So lot line adjustment and boundary adjustment are technically separate actions. This is a plat amendment, which accomplishes those things, but through a plat change.
So who's the applicant on this? Is it the traditional, subdivision or the Crabtree Family Trust?
The applicant Short-Term Investments, I believe that's the developer for Burke Springs.
I think the applicant is here. Council, would you like to talk to the applicant, or are you prepared to discuss and make a motion without that? Any questions for the applicant?
No, Eldon, we have the property owner sign off and everything. Okay. And I'd make a motion, we approve the preliminary plat for the Burke Springs Phase 3 subdivision.
Have a motion by Councilman Coates.
Second.
Second by Councilman Martinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The preliminary plat is amended. Have a good evening. You don't have to stay. We'll move on to ordinances. Item 7A is consideration to approve an ordinance for general plan G-23-06 to change from PUD to LDR. The applicant is Rosenberg and Associates. Community Development Director Drew Ellerman will present to the council.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Stated the applicant seeking to amend the general plan land use map. The requested area covers approximately 23.58 acres. The current land use designation is stated as planned unit development. The applicant is seeking approval to have the land use designation changed to the low density residential general plan designation. The surrounding general plan land use designations are open space to the north and the east, planned unit development to the west and south. Staff's reviewed the requested change and is comfortable with the proposal, finding it to be in harmony with surrounding uses and the general plan designations. The Planning Commission reviewed the request at their December 6th, 2023 meeting, and the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval for G-23-06 to amend the general plan land use map from the planned unit development designation to the low density residential designation as outlined in your exhibits and attached. And this is on to you, the City Council. I'll be glad to answer any questions that the council might have. Maybe you want to switch views here and we'll just.
So council, this is a general plan amendment. So I'm going to look to the audience. Is there anyone in attendance this evening for this particular item that had a desire to speak to this item? Okay. All right. Council, questions for Drew?
No questions, but I have comments one time's ready.
Go ahead.
So I have concerns with changing this from a PUD to LDR, mostly in the fact that the neighborhood to the west and northeast is all PCD. So a PUD is as close as you can get to a PCD with the size. We just recently changed this to a PCD, and I think it's, or PUD, and I think it's appropriate to keep it PUD so that we make sure it's contiguous with it being on our ridge line and being consistent with Coral Canyon looks and feels as we go through there. So my opinion is it should say PUD moving forward. So it's just comments for the council to think.
Thank you, Councilman. Further discussion or questions for staff before I invite the applicant or the applicant's representative to come forward?
Mayor, I'm going to wait for my comments till after we have the discussion, if that's all right.
Fair enough. Is the applicant or applicant's representative here this evening?
I'm here via Google Meets.
Okay, would you just introduce yourself and your name and who you're with?
Yeah, absolutely. Tate Murphy with Elevate Development. And so up here, we had contemplated a lot of different uses. After talking with staff, we tried to go something very traditional, something that will match the surrounding areas. Obviously, as part of this, there is the hillside setbacks. So, you know, we can't build the 2-story within a certain square footage or linear footage of the of where the elevation starts to change. So we tried to keep this so it'd be very characteristic of what's already up there, but we actually went with a lot larger lots than what was done to the development, the Solis development. We went through what was a very conservative. We're asking for a conservative zone. It was our intent here just to do a traditional single family development. So that was kind of what we had determined with staff was the best way to approach this moving forward. Because each one of these homes, it's not like they're going to be built as an apartment where each design is going to be known beforehand. So with the current PUD, you'd have to bring back each single home in order to get that design and use granted. So it's a little trickier than it would be in a PCD.
Thank you, Tate. Council, questions for the applicant or further discussion?
Drew, the development to the west, do they have restrictions on single story, 2-story? The hill.
You mean Coral Canyon on Solis?
Yeah, Solis. Mm-hmm.
By city code, technically, no. You can have that. I've heard they say in their CC&Rs about 2 stories, but I know there's 2-story built, homes in Coral Canyon. So
not on the ridgeline though, Drew. They're all single story on the ridgeline. Down in the valley, you can, but not on the ridgeline.
But I don't know if the PCD spelled that out. If I remember,
it has to do with the CC&Rs.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it sounds like they don't want to do 2 stories anyway because you'd be pushed off the ridgeline even more. So
that's not what I heard. I heard they're not going to do them on the ridgeline, but it doesn't mean you couldn't do it in the middle. So because of the ridgeline ordinance, I'm just concerned. That's one of my concerns is changing the look and feel of that ridgeline. I think we've done a pretty good job in holding people to what they need to do, and so I'd like to continue that with a PUD.
So Mayor, may I just clarify? So the city code would allow 2-story on the ridgeline, but the CC&Rs will not. Is that correct?
Part of the problem is that it's not part of Coral Canyon. I think that's the issue that Councilman Coates has, is he's wanting to keep the consistency, but they would not be limited to that because it's not in the PCD at all. So they would be allowed to do it.
So let me ask you, Drew. I mean, one of their concerns was you have to come in for every house, and I would say if you came in with a few different house types, that can get approved through the PUD process.
Actually, the PUD in single family lots, they are not required to bring elevations to the city at all. The only difference would be that I can see, I'm just calling it for all your information to have, is that between the straight zoning and PUD, the PUD would require the amenity package, so they'd have to lose some of the area because the PUD forces you to put in amenity, where straight zoning does not. That's, for me, I just, I'm looking at it as a city planner and what the difference would be, and that would be the difference for me, here, because we would not see their buildings if they brought it in, they'd just be bringing you basically a preliminary plat showing your amenities in a PUD. You wouldn't see the elevations because we don't require that in our PUD.
That was actually
So-
my.
Go ahead, Tate.
I was just gonna point out, Drew, correct me if I'm wrong, but if they are 2-story houses, they have to be set back 100 feet from the ridge line instead of the 50 feet for a single story house, right?
Yes, that is true because of the hillside ordinance. You are correct.
Right.
So that'd be a choice they'd have to make in that.
Councilman Ivey.
Yes, I was just going to talk to, I've seen requests for changes the other way, but going from PUD to straight zoning. I'm just wondering the amenities that, I'm not familiar with the amenities that were talked about or that were, I don't know if promised is the right word, but is there an amenity package that's going to be affected or eliminated if we go straight zoning, or is that something that not even to be considered because there's nothing in place?
Yeah, straight zoning would not require amenity.
No, and what I'm asking is was there PUD amenities that would?
No, nothing. They only had the zoning given to it, but there was no approval of design. So
No conditions?
The amenity is based on how many units you have. There's a minimum square footage that you have to. So there was no plan. So I guess the quick answer, Councilman, is no, there was not a promised or that they would have to have met because there was no approved plan, just a straight, it just got its zoning knowing they would come back later.
Well, and that was really my only concern regarding this agenda item, was that just making sure that amenities that maybe other property owners or buyers or potential buyers were going to be considering, and all of a sudden they wouldn't be available. So knowing that, then that answers my question, Mayor.
So Drew, you're saying that, because they did this entire area as a PUD when they had that commercial, those apartments and the condos. And this was all part of that PUD when they did that. It was presented, but they were planning on coming back and doing a low density residential for this upper portion. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I don't think that they really had a plan for this particular area back when they did that. They just did it because it was all in one lump property. I think it was just easier for them to get a PUD over the whole boundary. It was instead of trying to go in and carve out. And so they just thought that, they would put it all at PUD at that time. Of course, things change with everybody. And so I think that's where they, looked at doing it. And this is what they feel is best moving forward for them, was just going with straight zoning. So, and the straight zoning is going to require it a minimum to R110 or R112 in the low density residential.
So would you just reiterate what you just said? What is the reason they want this zoning change? Just the fundamental reason for it?
Well, I'm not sure. We'll ask Tate that, but
Yeah.
what I'm thinking, when I'm looking at it, when it's brought to me, they just want to go with straight zoning of R110 or R112 or greater is what it is, and they don't. But Tate, you can answer that if that's
Tate, go
different.
ahead and answer that question. Why are you asking for low density as opposed to PUD zoning on this item?
Yeah, so it was recommended from Elvin to go that route, just because we're looking at a very few number of lots here. So it provided us the ability just to plat these things and without the amenities and a big HOA fee. So that, it was more just a traditional zone here rather than having to have an HOA that would take care of common space for such a small number of lots, which obviously increases the amount of an HOA fee. So, I mean, it's not the biggest deal for us. It was just the recommendation of staff to move forward in this way. I mean, we're honestly fine with it either way. This was just what we were recommended to do.
Mayor, can I ask a question to Tate?
Go ahead, Councilman.
So Tate, this is Councilman Ivey. In the briefing document, you say this is being designed to be as minimally intrusive as possible to maintain views of the current residents of Washington City. Would you explain what that means and what you mean by minimally intrusive?
Yeah, I mean, we're because we're going very low density here. I mean, we're looking at less than 30 lots over this entire space. So it's not like we're trying to pack in as many homes as possible up here. And then obviously, because of the hillside, there will be the setbacks that maintain those views, but it's not like it's going to be a packed ridgeline of 1 million homes. We're going with a lower density here to try to minimize that impact.
So one thing that got brought up, Paul, are there any trails planned on this area, or?
Come on forward, Paul.
I'm just wondering if we, normally when we do a PUD, we're able to, not just the amenity, but we take care of the stormwater in some fashion together and the trails.
Yeah, we've been coordinating with Tate on the alignment of the trails. It will continue like it has been done in the Solis. There'll be a trail on the east and the west side that will connect and make a loop around the entire plateau. So we've been working with them to get that alignment will be part of this development.
And will it look similar to the Solis Trail, where it will be sort of off the hillside, and then that hillside has to be mitigated like the other developer had to?
I'm not sure how close it will be. South of Telegraph, they did it far enough away from the actual ridge line that there wasn't any mitigation needed. So that has yet to be seen in the design and layout that Tate comes up with.
Okay.
So my concern is that if you go to straight zoning, then you just lose some of those things that we can help with the design and with it being a PCD on both sides. So, I mean, I think you'll have a good product. I just think there's a few key items that we need to keep it a PUD. And I think we can talk about those amenities, because I agree a PUD requires an amenity, but maybe we work on the amenities. Maybe the trail's the amenity, right? Instead of everything else for 30 lots. Like I agree that maybe we should look at that amenities and talk about it, but we need to keep it in a PUD moving forward, and then have those discussions with the PUD application and mitigate the amenities as trails and those things.
Well, and also not only that, but where we do have some historical scarring there, if we can work together, maybe create some incentives in one area to maybe help work on those on the other, then that would be a really nice benefit as well.
I'm ready to make a motion, Mayor, if you're ready.
Further discussion, council? Go ahead, Councilman Coates.
Make a motion that we deny item 7A for the general plan G-23-06 to change from PUD to LDR. And the reason for my denial is it doesn't work with the adjacent subdivisions being planned community developments.
You've heard the motion by Councilman Coates.
I'll second that. Sorry, Mayor, I went over.
A second by Councilwoman Casperson.
Brief discussion, Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Seeing that the developer doesn't really seem to have a position either way on this, that he doesn't really have a solid opinion, then I'll go ahead and vote now.
And I think staff has heard the temperature of the council. Let's go roll call on this item. Martinson?
Aye.
Henderson?
Aye.
Coates?
Aye.
Ivy?
Aye.
Casperson?
Aye.
Item 7A is denied, and we look forward to seeing this come back forward as PUD. 7B, this is consideration to approve an ordinance for general plan amendment G-23-07 to change from medium high density and community commercial to PUD and community commercial. The applicant is Bush and Gudgel. Community Development Director Drew Ellerman will speak to this item, but before I turn to him, is there anyone in the audience from the public who is here for item 7B, this particular ordinance to amend the general plan? Go ahead, Drew.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, bear with me on this. There's a lot of, I know it sounds like a lot of words and everything, but we're just moving in essence things around, and so, but you have to go through the process, right? So the applicant is seeking to amend the general plan in this particular area. The requested area covers 37.65 acres. The current land use designations are medium high density residential and community commercial. The applicant is seeking approval to have the land use designations changed to the planned unit development and community commercial. And those will be the designations in the general plan. The surrounding land uses in the general plan are low density, residential, and not yet determined to the north, civic, medium density residential, and medium high density residential to the west. Interstate 15 corridor is at the south of this project, and community commercial is at the east. Staff's reviewed the requested change and is comfortable, again, with this proposal, finding it in harmony with surrounding designations and future development. The Planning Commission reviewed this request at their December 6th meeting, and the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of G-23-07 to amend the general plan map from the current medium high density residential and community commercial to the proposed plan unit development and community commercial onto you, the city council. So council, I just want to show you, this is the proposal of the new, areas that they're doing. I just want to go over to our city map and show you what is there currently, just for your reference point. Luckily, it's not too far away. And so as you can see, this medium high density bubble covers that area, and then directly south of it is the community commercial. So we're basically talking going up right where you see my arrow going through the community commercial, but also including all of this medium high density area. And so they're going to change everything on the west side to a planned unit development, and then what's left over on this piece protruding out on the top, they want to put that into community commercial. So that's the change that's being proposed tonight, just so you can see where we're coming from and the proposal of where we're going or wishing to go to. So I'll be glad to answer any questions council has on this proposal.
One topic you guys talked about at Planning Commission was the retention pond and how it relates to the commercial. I think somebody, maybe Pete, had a question or a concern about losing commercial property, and you talked a little bit about the detention pond and how that figures in, if you wouldn't mind talking about that a little bit.
Yeah, so somebody asked about the relationship of losing commercial acreage, right? And that down here, that bottom part is all community commercial. Half of it will stay that way, of course, on the east of this line right here. But what was pointed out is the area down here that's lost in that regional is designated commercial, and we lose it anyway. So in essence, we're just losing, if we are losing. Now again, realize that they could come back with a PUD that has mixed use. They're not pinning anything down yet. They've got lots of options with different, clients. And so this could still come back as a PUD commercial mixed use with some housing or commercial, but this just gives them that variety to go either way on that. And the plan is to maybe do a little mixed use in some of these too, is what they're hoping. But so to answer the bottom question, that we don't lose as much commercial as it looks like we are because of this regional detention basin.
But doesn't that regional detention basin have to stay in place?
I think that it does, but I'm not going to answer that. I think Public Works Department, well, Bob knows, but John, you want to verify that there is no options to move that, or it pretty much is stuck there because of designs up north coming out of everything up above in the W. Clyde development, and all that coming down through these washes. This is what ended up having to be.
I'm going to invite the applicant's representative to come forward, Bob Hermanson.
Appreciate your time, Bob Hermanson. So the comment was really related to that bottom corner is commercial now as it sits in your general plan. And so basically the thought process was that was never counted, but in the area calc it is. And so if you add all those up, it's about 3 acres short of the actual commercial acreage, but the pond is about 3 acres. And so the net of actual usable space is really close to identical.
What is the current MHD acreage that's currently general plan?
If you wouldn't mind going back to the other sketch and just zoom in there a little bit, it's the total of those two right there, the 13.
Little over 24
acres. That's the MHD. And then the commercial currently is the 13.6 right there. And so the net difference is roughly, what, 3 acres between the loss or the difference between the two?
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, so it ends up being 6s. Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're not losing. I mean, technically we are losing commercial, but we didn't never have it because it was already, they're just not losing any.
I think this is a good point to have a discussion, since we're here having this discussion. We had something similar happen down in Washington Fields, and the developer came back with some mixed use, and the council really said, we're not excited about your mixed use, go back to commercial. So I think it would be a good idea, I think, for the council to weigh in on what you'd like them to do before they go out. And if you want it to remain commercial, let them know that. If you're open to, I think what I'm hearing is everybody's not open to turning it into housing, losing some of that commercial for housing. I guess just maybe express your feelings that way so that we don't send them on a path that isn't what you want.
So for me, I like this because it, I don't really see in reality on the ground, you don't really lose any commercial. But it kind of gives us a softening or a feathering between the residential and, the commercial there. So I really like this change. I think it's a great change. In fact, not too long ago, I was selling a house just right across the street, and one of the main concerns of the potential buyers is what's going to go in that commercial, and because typically there's some feathering, so to me, this gives an opportunity for some feathering or some softening between the zoning. I like it.
They're gonna have the same concern when we do townhomes there too. So
yeah,
when I see feathering, I see like maybe a set of twin homes row and then some townhomes, if that's what we're thinking. That's how I would like to see it, is a little more feathering than historic. And then, I mean, we're super anxious about it being the medical area, right there. That's what I want to see, the medical for the commercial right through there. More commercial than not. I mean, the complaint we usually get is, well, I knew it was going to be commercial. It was zoned that. And now all of a sudden the zone changed when I moved in. So yeah, I'm all for the feathering, but it's got to be, I guess, some of that PUD, I would assume, would blend into the commercial, is my thoughts.
This just makes sense to me. I like it. So.
Well, if you read the flow chart, our economic development, the first paragraph is PUD should prioritize commercial development over additional housing, and goes on to say why. So not only that, but economic development, we've made that a priority in the city, and so it makes sense.
And just to be clear, that is actually our intent. We fully plan to have both products in there. The current idea is to still have some kind of a residential unit on the north side and some kind of mixed commercial in the corner as well. In there, that is our plan, with the exact thought process that was brought up, is that everything adjoining the existing homes would be just buffered with more of a similar product type as it transitioned over. And we're also trying to draw a line where we are full commercial as we move further into the project. And so it was just a more delineated line that made more sense to us.
So some of this property is still owned by Sitla?
Yes, in fact, all of it is. This is all Sitla. This is about 100 acres right here.
I thought that one piece was owned by the Rice Group.
Say that one more time.
I thought the one north piece was.
The 5-acre one, yeah.
Was by the
There in the
Rice.
corner that's in the orange right there. Yep.
Sitla signed off on knowing about this?
Yeah, they were part of the application with us. We've gone through with them. I
was more asking our staff, but
Oh,
thanks.
sorry.
I just want to make sure, because we've been down this road with Sitla where they don't always know what their partners are doing because they're just busy with lots of partners. So I just want to make sure I don't get a call from Sitla saying, why'd you do that? I didn't know about it.
Eldon, you had the application, and so that usually gets verified, right? So, yeah, but I'm pretty sure I thought I saw them on there, so.
Okay.
We had them go sign the app, if I remember correctly.
Well, I think I would make that a condition of approval, that we verify that Sitla is good with it.
Yeah, I have no problem, yeah.
Further discussion? We're ready for motion on this item. I'm happy to have that condition. You want to make a motion?
I'll make it. I'll make a motion that we approve the general plan G-23-07 to change from MHD and CCOM to PUD and CCOM, with findings condition provided by staff and the additional condition that we verify that Sitla has approved this as the landowner.
You've heard the motion by Councilman Coates. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Martinson. This is an ordinance, so we'll go roll call. Henderson.
Aye.
Coates.
Aye.
Ivy. Casperson.
Aye.
Martinson.
Aye.
The general plan amendment is approved unanimously. The next item on our agenda is appointments. Item 8A is consideration to confirm the appointment of members to the Planning Commission. Council, I would like to receive your advice and consent, or your consent in the form of a motion to reappoint Commissioner Pete Bullock for another 3-year term.
I think Pete's done a great job for us. I think we should do it.
Okay, would someone like to make that motion?
Mayor, I make a motion that we reappoint or recommend to reappoint Pete Bullock to the Planning Commission for an additional 3-year term.
Heard the motion by Councilman Henderson, second by Councilman Coates. All in favor?
Aye.
That's approved unanimously. 8B, this is consideration to confirm the appointment of the 2024 Planning Commission Chair. Council, I'd present to you the name of Jason Hansen to continue to serve as Chair of the Planning Commission. Have to have a motion on that item.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint the Planning Commission Chair to Jason Hansen. I think he's doing a great job for us, and I did love serving with him for the short time I did.
You've heard the motion by Councilman Coates.
Second.
Second by Councilman Henderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is approved unanimously. Council, I will just let you know that Commissioner Hansen's been on there for going on 6 years, and I am twisting his arm as hard as I can to stay, but it is possible that after 6 months, when his term comes up, that he will have had his fill. So just, if that's the case, I'll bring forward a new chair. But I agree, he's doing a fantastic job. Item 8C is consideration to approve the appointment of members to the Power Board. And it's my pleasure to present to you the name of Mike Dinsmore to be reappointed for an additional 3 years to the Washington City Power Board. Would someone like to make a motion to that effect?
Mayor, do we combine C and D for the appointments of the Power Board and the chair, or are those separate?
I'm fine to see that combined, and I'd also like to see Mike Dinsmore serve as the chair. And as soon as this vote happens, Mr. Dinsmore, I'm going to invite you up to the mic, whether you'd like to or not.
So, Mayor, I'll make the motion to confirm the appointments of power members to the board with Mike Dinsmore as the Power Board Chair.
Council, you've heard the motion to appoint Mike Dinsmore to another term and for him to serve as chair. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Coates. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Dinsmore, board chair. Will you first start off by telling us how many years you've been on this power board, and if there are any other power board members in this room, and if so, how they're doing as well?
Well, evening. Yes, I have served for 7 years. So, yeah, it's been a long time. And Dick is here also tonight. And we love serving for you and helping out any way we can, and enjoy the time we're spending serving the city.
Well, you are doing a great job, and in a challenging environment for power. So we want you to know that we appreciate you, and it means a lot, Mike, that not only the service that you give, at the monthly, is it more than monthly? You have that assignment, Councilman?
It's monthly.
At the monthly meetings, but also that you take the time out of your busy schedule to be here tonight in front of the council. I know you've got a lot on your plate, so Mike, we really appreciate you. Thank you for your 7 years of service, and thank you in advance for your future years of service, and thank you for chairing that board. And frankly, there's a lot of value in that institutional knowledge in terms of where we've been and where we're going. Is there anything else you'd like to say while you've got the mic?
No, you're right. It's a challenge, and we've got a lot of challenges ahead of us in the next couple of years to fulfill the needs for the city.
Now, if you'd just go home and tell Lisa I said hello, okay?
I will.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 8E, this is consideration to confirm the appointment of members to the Historic Preservation Commission. Council, you should have received my memo on this one. I'll just read through those names, if I can find them in my packet. As members would be Ken Nilsson on a 3-year term. We are staggering the term to kind of fix that, and then reappointments would be on a 3-year. So we would ask for your consent by vote to appoint Ken Nilsson for a 3-year term, Dave Matthews for a 3-year term, Jason Bright for a 2-year term, Rich Levin for a 2-year term, Gail Bunker for a 1-year term. And I think, Councilman Ivey, we can combine those again, and I've asked Ken Nilsson that he would chair that Historic Preservation Commission. Any discussion? If not, I'm happy to entertain a motion.
Do you want me to read the names?
However you like, Councilman.
Make a motion that we confirm the appointment of members of the Historic Preservation Committee, Preservation Commission, with the following: Ken Nilsson as chair for a 3-year term, Dave Matthews for a 3-year term, Jason Bright for a 2-year term, Rich Levin for a 2-year term, and Gail Bunker for a 1-year term.
Thank you, Councilman Martinson. You've heard the motion.
I'll second that.
I have a second by Councilwoman Casperson. All in favor? Aye. That's approved unanimously. Next item of business is a report of officers from assigned committee. Should we change it up, Councilman Martin? Should I start on the right-hand side tonight with Councilwoman Casperson? All right, Councilwoman Casperson, lead off batter tonight on report of officers from assigned committee.
Why are you changing things? We always start with Martinson.
All right, well, I've been vetoed. Councilman Martinson.
Smart move. Just a few, right? So our flood control meeting got canceled this month.
I think we had one.
We didn't have one.
They said there was, but then all of a sudden, me and Ben are ready, and no one else.
No one else is
So I'm
ready.
like,
So nothing to report there. The CEC Community Education Channel will have their last meeting of the year next week. So we'll discuss budget, we'll discuss their plans for 2024 and all of that. And then Youth Council did have their annual Christmas party at Carmen's. I was busy fulfilling some ecclesiastical responsibilities, so was not able to make it. Those responsibilities went till about 11 o'clock that night, prepping for the historic St. George Temple rededication. So was not able to make the Christmas party, but saw all of the pictures, saw all of that. It looked like it was a fun time as always. So they don't have another meeting till January. They did participate in Christmas in Dixie. It's always a fabulous time with them doing Grinch and Cindy Lou Who and the tours up to the Covington Mansion. So they always do a great job with that.
Thank you, Councilman Martinson. We appreciate the way in which you fill your assignments. Thank you. Councilman Henderson.
Mayor, I don't have anything other than you're welcome for your little Christmas bonus from the mosquito district. Merry Christmas.
it's a sweet calendar. If you didn't, it's the same size as the phone, so. Mayor, just a couple quick items for me. Power Board, we're just trying to figure out the next steps with the New Skill project, and we're going to focus on that this next coming year with UAMPS, and I know we're in good hands with Rick on that. And then just an update on the landfill. We had board meeting on Monday, and we did basically award the contract to CERC. It's going to be the contractor, so that landfill is going to get their makeover duly needed, and I figured it'll be 8-9 month process. It's 34 weeks. They did it in weeks, so I'm confused. But in 34 weeks after they start, which is 8-9 months. So, and then we'll have a brand new landfill, or not a brand new landfill, a brand new entrance to the landfill. But I think things are going good over at the Solid Waste Board. We're on a good move. So that's all I have.
Well, congratulations. You've been very instrumental in that new facility there. Councilman Ivey.
Yes, Mayor, we had a legislative policy on Monday, and it was fast and furious, and there's way too much information there to even try to share it out. So I've kind of tried to boil it down to something that probably is most impactful at this time. You know, the state goes by way of the money, the budget. And I just want to hit a highlight of some of the governor's proposed budget for fiscal year 2025. Not really any surprises other than that there's no surplus this year at all. That's the reigning sentiment among all legislators and across the board, is that there's just not any extra money for a lot of allocations. So anyway, the budget is operating and capital budgets, $29.5 billion. 12.6 billion comes from general fund and income tax fund. It's really broke down into three different areas. The first being people, which is strengthening families, about 69 million went to that. Services, 14 million. Education got just over 1 billion for education and workforce, and then 193 million for alleviating homelessness. Of course, there's a lot to be said on that in the governor's First Home initiative for that. The next area is growth. Water receives a lot of conversation again this year with a lot of funding to help with that. $81.6 million has been awarded to that. Hopefully we can get some of that down here for our reuse, and we'll keep after them on that. And then 122 million for transportation and air quality. 150 million went to Utah First Homes, as we talked about before, and then affordable housing, 45.5 million. And the last one is good governance. 212 million went to mitigating risk, 5.5 million for customer service, 163 for employee compensation, and then higher education was 75 million. But probably we had a legislative update today with Senator Vickers and with Representative Ellison. And, you know, Mayor, I'd just like to state how lucky, privileged we are to have them, as well as Representative Colin Jack, serving us here in Southern Utah. They are absolutely men that not only have great integrity, but they get things done. They'll return our calls. They listen to us when we need something. And I really appreciate them coming and sharing some time with us today. But just going forward, you know, we're planning to spend a lot of time at the session this year advocating for Washington City and those things that are important to us going forward. The one thing that we're going to be watching closely in legislative policy is, you know, there just seems to be that continued attitude or dispensation, I guess, that the state is very willing and ready to jump in and create ordinance that the cities would have to follow in regards to land use, density, house sizes, you know, PUDs and different things like that. And we've always maintained that we have a better ability to manage ourselves here locally than the state does. And the one thing that the challenge to me as mayor, council, is that, you know, we're not any other part of the state. We're very unique down here. Do we have a different climate, we have red rocks and all that kind of stuff. But the truth is, we're just different than the rest of the state. And sometimes when we get, you know, whipped in that same batter, it just really isn't to our benefit. It's something that we get held with having to do it, but really don't see the benefit. So we're going to work very, very hard to make sure that when these bills are brought forward, that they recognize that we might be a little bit different here. And I've already had people reach out. Chief's reached out on a bill that he is watching closely, and others. And some of them are already starting to rise to the top. You know, we'll start the session here in just under a month, and it'll go 45 days. But, and we expect that to be fast and furious. The one number that gets stuck in my head and I can't get out is that this session, there will be over 1,300 bills go through the legislature this year. So just do the math, 1,300 divided by 47 days, and that'll let you know the amount of work that we have to do to make sure that we have a voice on everything prior to our legislators voting those into law. But other than that, Mayor, I would just mention that I was able to take a field trip this past week with Eldon. We went up to Solis and we reviewed the Solis project. And I can report back to the council that all of the objectives and provisions that we put in place have been met. We walked the perimeter and we looked at all of what we asked them to do, and they have done that very well. And so when that comes to the right, when that time comes forward, then I'll be recommending that we allow them to move forward as far as the Hillside Committee goes. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you for your report, Councilman. Busy season ahead for you and for Jordan and the team up there on the Hill. Councilwoman Casperson.
Thank you, Mayor, for sticking to procedures.
I won't try to change procedure again on you, I promise.
I just thought it was really great that we had applause, a clap for everyone was clapping for Paul. That earlier today, we actually, for all that he does, we had a meeting discussing trail standards and guidelines. And once that is finished, then the staff will review it, and then we'll have an opportunity to bring it to the council and the mayor to be able to look at. And so I really enjoy working on the active transportation committee, and all that they do is really great for our community.
Well said. Thanks for your service there. I'll be brief on mine. We did pass we're on an annual budget for the Water Conservancy District, so we passed our budget at our last meeting. We anticipate a record number of water bills on the Hill so we'll be watching to see how that affects our community and our city as well. I'll be heading to Las Vegas this evening for a Colorado River Water Users Association conference for the next couple of days, and as we continue to protect and enhance our most precious resource in the desert. So keep working on that. I have a DTEC with the Dixie MPO next week. We have a couple of items that Blake and I have identified that are going to be beneficial for our city. One to do with the road, other one to do with the trail. So we'll look for some regional support and funding there. And that's all I have. We'll turn to the city manager report, and then I'll slide back in for a moment before we adjourn tonight.
Well, my Christmas present to you and everybody here is I don't have anything to report, so.
Give him a hand.
Happy holidays.
In fairness to those watching or listening, city manager keeps us all very well informed. And so he's doing a great job, and we rely on him a lot. But this evening is going to be our last opportunity to serve with our dear friend and fellow council member, Councilman Ben Martinson. Ben has served the city for about 6 years as a planning commissioner, 2 years as a council member, and in so many other ways. Councilman, we're going to miss you. And collectively, we got you a little something that to remember your time and your service here. So I'm going to just hand this on down. I kind of ripped the bag. I apologize. My wife wouldn't have ripped the bag, but I did. No, you gotta open it. Both. It's Christmas season.
That's the most scared I've ever seen him up there.
I think it's appropriate to say that not only are we going to miss you, but we have enjoyed serving with you, and that we really love you, Ben. It's going to be hard, a hard change for all of us. Council, any other thoughts for Councilman Martinson before we let him share a few of his thoughts?
Yeah, Ben, I've had the opportunity to serve with you on Planning Commission and now on council. And 2 years ago, when we had the opportunity to appoint you to take mayor's spot on council, you know, I was like, Ben's our guy. I know Ben's our guy because I think you helped the council smooth out. And I think it's meant a lot to me that you're able to help our council become a better council. So that's what I'll always think when I think of Ben Martinson. So thank you.
Well, I've known Ben for a long time, and city council is just part of our relationship that we've had. I've always looked up to Ben. He's been a great example and a great support for me, and I'm going to miss him tremendously as we are each other's wingman on the city council and have been, and I look to him for a lot of advice on a lot of different things, not just city council. And so he is a great man, and I love him dearly, and I'm going to miss him. So.
Ben is awesome. Everyone knows that. I feel he's done such a good job serving our residents here in Washington City. I've just really enjoyed working with you, and your input and your insights, and you're just a great guy, and we all gonna miss you.
You know, for me, Councilman, it's, you know, what I'm going to miss among a lot of things is those brief conversations that we have when I just ask you a quick question on something like on the budget or something. And you not only answer, but you come back with a spreadsheet or whatever it was. And it was very nice to have that expertise, you know, on the council. But the thing I'll remember about you, my good friend, is that you're an example of service. You emulate service before self, whether, no matter what it is in life that you're doing or where you're at. And I'll always try to live up to your example.
Can I just add too, I noticed with Ben that, you know, someone will complain about something online and he'll just like go and do it no matter what it is. You know, he'll go mow someone's lawn or pick up trash or pick up garbage. He just goes and gets things done and doesn't, you know, do it for recognition. You just go and do it and not display it, you know, that you did that. But I really love that about you.
I agree with everything everyone else has said. Plus, even though we sit all the way across from each other to lighten this up, when I'm thinking of a joke, I just look at him and he smiles, and we share the same sense of humor. So that's good. Our trips won't be quite the same, but it's been great to get to know you and become friends. So thank you.
Gonna make me cry. Because it really has been a privilege serving on city council. It really isn't for the recognition. I hate being on the stand. I served in an ecclesiastical position where I had to be on a stand for 5.5 years, and I hated every second of being on the stand. But what I really enjoyed was that service opportunity. So Mayor asked if there's anything that he could do for me, and it's continue to invite me to help with the Ironman breakfast.
Who else is going to bring the big enough spatula?
I don't know, but just continue to ask. That's all I ask. It really has been that privilege. It started with Planning Commission and that appointment, and just it kept going from there. And it's these last 2 years have just been a phenomenal opportunity to get to know even the more of the ins and outs of the city, more citizens, and I'm not going anywhere. I just won't be here. I've already arranged work trips for next year to be around city council dates, so I can be here as often as possible. So Jeremy, you won't look across, you'll just look down. I'll still smile and laugh, and we'll still have that sense of humor. So just appreciate the opportunity to serve, and if there's anything that any of you ever need, it goes for council, goes for staff, goes for citizens that are here. If there's anything you ever need, you all have my phone number. If you don't, just Google my name. It's there. I work in sales. I have for 25 years. My cell phone number is everywhere to be found. My personal email address is everywhere to be found. My personal address is everywhere to be found. So if you can't find my phone number, somebody will have it. And I mean that sincerely, that if you ever do need anything, call or text. Text is my preference because I'm usually in work meetings during the day. So, and I mean that sincerely because Washington City is, it's home. We've been here almost 20 years now, and it's home. So thank you for making it the community that it is, because it comes from every single citizen, every single resident that lives in Washington City. So I appreciate that.
Councilman Martinson, will you do us the honors of making the final motion to adjourn this meeting?
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we adjourn our city council meeting with no need to go to a closed session.
You've heard the motion by Councilman Martinson. Do I have a second?
I was gonna say nay, but
I'll second it.
Second by Councilman Coates. All in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned.
Recording stopped.